By the end of this presentation, you will know how to explain the difference between Minnesota state standards and the Common Core, how to unpack a standard, and identify why understanding standards is important for teachers. The Minnesota State Academic Standards are found on the MDE website. Google Minnesota Academic Standards and then click on the link that is education.mn.gov, and that will get you to the right place. You'll see that the areas for the academic standards are listed on this page. Typically, it's been along the left side, but web design does change, so don't be fooled if your search doesn't look exactly like this image. You'll notice that not every academic area is listed. Some areas, like business, are determined by national standards or local school districts. Clicking on these areas will bring you to more detailed information that typically includes documents to be downloaded. But let's talk a bit about the history of the Minnesota State Academic Standards. Most people started being aware of the standards when No Child Left Behind in 2002 first provided states with funding if they were willing to implement standards and be accountable, otherwise known as testing. All of the states joined in. Some states, like Minnesota, developed committees to write standards. Actually, Minnesota already had standards in place, so our committees set to work revising them and determining how best to measure them. Once the standards are written and plans are in place for measuring them, state legislatures must pass them into law. That's right, the academic state standards are the law. So, where did Common Core fit into this system? Some states realized that developing the committees and the standards and the measures would be expensive and time consuming. So, they worked together. Actually, the Council of Chief State School Officers and the National Governors Association joined forces and developed their own set of standards. But not everyone was happy about this partnership. You've probably heard of the controversy over the Common Core. There are people who believe it is an attempt by the federal government to control the state educational system. Some believe it is a national curriculum of sorts. Since education is a powerful thing, it's good that the public is concerned about what's being taught in our schools and the standards that point the way for curriculum and instruction. Over the years since 2002, many states have opted in and quite a few have opted out. Minnesota, as you can see, split the difference and accepted the English language arts standards from the Common Core and chose to go with their own standards for mathematics. So let's go back to the standards and take a look at one of the ELA or English language arts benchmarks. The coding system for the standards is consistent no matter which subject area you're looking at. They are all assigned a set of numbers, an address, so that more information can be determined about the statement you're analyzing. In this example, it's 11.1.6.2. That means that it's for the 11th and 12th grade band. It's strand 1 of ELA, which is reading. It's Anchor Standard 6, which is analyzing influences on content, meaning, and style of text, including fact and fiction, perspective and identity, including Dakota and Anishinaabe perspectives in complex literary and informational text. That is further defined in Benchmark 2. Benchmarks are the final level, and it says, analyze the progression of an idea or concept as it's evolved in discussion in text through decades or centuries through foundational documents of historical and literary significance. That's a pretty lofty goal and quite a mouthful. So the coding system is always grade, strand, standard, and benchmark. If there's a fifth number, it's a substandard to further explain the strand. And every standards document has a section at the beginning that's kind of a decoder ring to help you confirm the coding system. So if I showed you this benchmark, you'd be able to tell me the grade level, right? Correct. It's a grade 2 benchmark for ELA. It's strand 6, which happens to be writing. It says, write opinion pieces in which they introduce the topic or book they are writing about, state an opinion, supply reasons that support the opinion, use linking words like because and also to connect opinion and reasons, and provide a concluding statement or section. This is for second graders, remember? Incredible. It's quite clear that there's a lot going on here. Benchmarks aren't always this dense, but when they are, teachers have to unpack them or pull them apart and analyze what all of the elements are to be accomplished. Unpacking means that teachers sort through the statement and determine the concepts, what students will know from the skills, and what students will be able to do in the context or topic to which they'll have to demonstrate this learning. If we unpack our second grade ELA writing benchmark, it's really clear that the context is opinion pieces. We can't get away from that. Students will have to write an opinion piece. Students will need to know about a topic or a book to write their opinion piece. And the skills that they'll need to demonstrate are introduce, state an opinion, supply reasons, and provide a concluding statement. Oh, and don't forget they have to use those linking words. Again, that's a pretty serious laundry list of things that students will have to know and do. So, this is where the teacher comes in. We have to consider all of the smaller elements that students will need us to teach them in order for them to accomplish this benchmark. They'll need to know what an opinion piece is. Actually, some will need to know what an opinion is first. They'll need to know how to introduce a topic or book, how to state an opinion, how to provide support. You get the idea. From that one benchmark, we could develop close to 10 individual lessons. That is what it means to unpack a standard. Take it apart and determine what is important to teach in order for students to be able to meet that benchmark. Standards, or benchmarks, do not tell teachers how to teach, or sometimes even what to teach. In our opinion writing example, the teacher could decide to combine this with science standards and write an opinion about water conservation. But this same opinion writing benchmark might be accomplished in another classroom by having students write opinion pieces about their favorite picture book. Standards also don't adjust for students. Some students will need work that pushes them beyond the standards, and other students will need intervention, and some will need support because they're learning English or have a disability. That is where the expertise and skill of the teacher comes in. Teachers use the standards as their guide, but they determine how the students will achieve those standards.